Welcome to Taco Tuesdays with Crispy Bacon. I am Crispy Bacon, owner of Pharmacide, the Pharm, Sage Eater Records, the whole lot. But I've started all this music and everything to really kind of touch base with like my mental health. Um, I kind of started doing a lot of this to shine a beacon on uh, the issues that are mental health. And like, I am a diagnosed person who suffers from CPTSD. If you don't know what that is complex post traumatic stress disorder. Um, I grew up in a really, really toxic environment. Um, Dealt with a lot of abuse growing up, and also dealt with a lot of abuse as an adult. Through people kind of suck. You know, um, we're trying to get mental health to be one of those things where, oh shit, we just hit 700 followers. Look at that. Um, Trying to get it to where like people will be, can be more open about what they go through. I know that it's like really hard to uh to be honest with yourself and to be honest with others too, because like a lot of the times we're like terrified that somebody's going to leave us just because we spoke our mind. And honestly, um if I'm being completely honest, if they leave you because you spoke your mind and you were being at least a little bit respectful, you don't need them in your life. It's they if they bring you down, if they try to force you to be somebody else, somebody that you are not, then they're not a real friend. They're not somebody who cares about you. They're not somebody who, unless you're like like if you're on drugs or you're just a straight up asshole, then maybe, yeah, you should probably listen. But whenever it comes to, you know, stuff like, let's say you listen to metal and somebody's like, no, I hate it when you listen to that shit. No, fuck them, you know. Or I hate it when you write music, or I hate it when you spend too much time on this. Um, you got to do what you do. And sometimes people just don't understand it. I'm trying to like share this real quick. I'm playing some classical music in the background. Those who might not know, most metalheads are like really into classical music. Um, for some reason, it like inspires me to do great things. I don't know, like fucking classical music is just beautiful. And I figured I want to get a copyright music on or copyright strike on shit that's like, you know, 500 plus years old or whatever. Let me fix this little curtain. I got my little green screen back here, and sometimes it decides it wants to have a mind of its own. What the fuck? Ah! It's got a mind. It's dying on me. Okay, that's why. Stay, punk bitch. Hey, buddy. How you doing? My dogs are down there like, what are you doing, Daddy? Freaking out. So, on this episode of Taco Tuesdays, we're gonna talk about um we're gonna talk about something that I just learned, and honestly, it was kind of an eye opener for me. Um, because I didn't realize how much of these things I actually do until we started going through them in the therapy session. I was like, oh shit, you know, I really need to work on this. So we're gonna talk about codependency. I know a lot of us tend to rely on other people to kind of help us get through the day or to help us get through the week to, you know, um, be positive beacons in our life. But, sometimes we put too much on them, you know. Sometimes we require too much or we do too much for other people. Like for me, I definitely enable a lot of that, and I'm like in the throes of like working on it and trying to uh I don't know how you would say it, but make things a little more uniform between me and my wife. Um so codependency, what is codependency? A behavioral condition in a relationship where one person enables another person's addiction, poor mental health, immaturity, irresponsibility, or underachievement. Basically, the need to be needed. You kind of have to ask yourself, like, when you're in a relationship, are you like sitting there going, yes, I need to be needed. Yes, I need them to say this. And I'm not talking about like love languages because love language is like a totally different thing. We all know that. Um, Let me put this here. Again, trying to get people, add people. So we have a new partnership coming up with some pages. Like I want y'all to um, welcome the recreational Meowstafarian, now part of the Pharm network. We're going to be doing a show with her, working with women's health and recovery, uh, drug addiction recovery, and we're going to find like, we're going to offer help to get people clean and sober. And if you smoke pot, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking more about like the hard shit that like really hurts you and keeps you down. Like meth, cocaine, heroin and all that. Um, those who don't know, my mom was a huge drug addict for like the longest time. It's kind of what ended up killing her. She ended up committing suicide um about 7 years ago. I found out because I sent her ashes to my house. Like what? So it's kind of trippy. Um, oop, I'm just gonna share that. So it's kind of trippy how that really played a part into um me recovering, honestly. Because like for the longest time I thought my mom was like gonna come get me. Like she definitely falls into the category of codependency. Um, she was one of those who um would threaten like suicide if like her husband was gonna leave, or like her boyfriend. I remember hearing her say shit like that. I remember um whenever I left, she threatened to commit suicide, and it was just very toxic, you know. So like those types of behaviors, you gotta kind of work on them. And I'm not talking about like, yeah, you're gonna miss them so much that you may do it. It's more like using it as a way to kind of manipulate people. And that's where my mom like really um took a toll on like me and my siblings. Which, by the way, my brother is like a huge fan of what I do with all this, so I might get him on here and we'll do like a little talk about mental health and what it was like growing up with a mother like that. If you can do me a favor, if you're watching, comment in your experience with codependency in a relationship, or even with your parents. Just be like, yes, I've experienced it. I'm about to go through what I learned about codependency just yesterday. I didn't even realize I was essentially an enabler this whole time until going to therapy yesterday and going, yo, what? Holy shit, that is totally me. Damn. You know? Same, still healing? Yes. Always work on that healing. Um, so let's get into it. What is codependency? I know I said it a little bit ago, but now we got some viewers, so I will start from the beginning on that. And again, a portion of whatever comes in from this will be going to 988, which is the crisis hotline. So if you're ever feeling like committing suicide, or you feel like you know someone who is, that's the number that they would call, and you will get help. They are really good at what they do. So codependency is a behavioral condition in a relationship where one person enables another person's addiction, poor mental health, immaturity, irresponsibility, or underachievement. Basically, the need to be needed. I never really thought that I fit in that category until, like I said yesterday, we were talking about it, and I'm like, oh shit. So it's like key signs of codependency. You feel responsible for solving other people's problems, and if you can't solve their problems, then you're scared they'll leave you. That is a huge one for me personally. Being that I have CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and I also have abandonment um, traumas. Like my mom abandoned me, my dad did at one point, but my dad's in my life now, thankfully. So like anytime like I feel like I can't fix something, like if let's say my wife's having a hard day at work, and I want to give her advice or help her fix the issues she's dealing with. And I feel like if I can't help her get out of that spiral, then what use am I? I'm gonna end up like she's gonna leave me, or like if I just annoy her enough. So it's like I definitely do that one myself. Um, you find it almost impossible to say no and end up giving more to the relationship than the other person. That's a huge one. I know a lot of relationships do that, and it's not really that healthy. It's not good for you. But it's kind of got to be like a give and take. Like everybody's got to be a partnership. You get hurt, upset, bitter, or resentful when you feel like others don't praise or recognize you for everything you're doing. That is something I do not do. I really don't give a shit. Now, if somebody like blatantly ignores it, like says you never do anything, but yet you do a lot of stuff, for them, then that's when I get upset because I'm like, that's not fair. Uh, you may need to feel in control all the time and avoid conflict at any cost. I know that's a very common one. Um, Especially with somebody who grew up with trauma, you tend to want to get away from it. Like you don't want anything to trigger that trauma, you know? So a lot of the times you avoid that conflict at any cost, even if that means you're like letting your walls down or your boundaries that you set. They're just no longer they're null and void essentially. Um, which is not the right thing to do. At least that's what I've been told. I'm still working on that myself. Um, you have a hard time trusting yourself and really feel if you make a mistake that people are going to abandon you. I mean, how many times have you done something at work? Like, I feel like I have this relationship with my job, you know, where I do something at my day-to-day job and I feel like I didn't do it well enough. I'm gonna get fired because I'm no longer of use to them. And that's kind of a real screwed up way of thinking about it, but like how many of you have dealt with that with your careers, where you're like, "Oh crap, I forgot to dot the I's and cross the T's on this work order and, the wrong thing got ordered. I'm gonna lose my job." That's kind of like that's a part of like the whole codependency thing. What's up, Neurospicy Cinnamon Snack? I love your name, by the way. That is like the coolest freaking name. Oh, Jennifer's watching. So that one's pretty on the nose as far as work related goes. Yeah, self-talk is very important. Sometimes you just have to convince yourself that all these thoughts that are going through your head. I know I can't change that on the Facebook one. For some reason through Streamlabs I can't change it to say talk. On all the others I can. It's weird. But either way, we know what we're doing here. So, what was the next one? Oh yeah. Okay, so you feel like your only value in the relationship comes from being able to save the other person and solve their problems. Um, that is one of those that I have a hard time with when it comes to codependency, because I feel like I have to offer the world in order for, let's say, like my wife, I have to offer the world in order for me to be of value. And I know that's not true. We've had these conversations time and time again, because like sometimes I need reassurance, and my wife's really good about doing that. Um, right? It doesn't. Yeah. In the long run, these types of relationships, if you don't, I mean, I'm not saying like, yeah, this relationship is horrible in that regard. What I'm saying is you look out for these and then you try to adjust it. You make sure you have your boundaries set and you make sure that you talk about them with your significant other or your job even, and you let them know that this is what I'm willing to do, um, and that's it. And if somebody crosses that boundary, you talk about it in a nice and respectable way, and that's how you kind of get past that toxic part that comes with it, and you start getting away from the codependency mentality. Um, and that's kind of one of those things that my wife's been really good about helping me get past that because she is really good about not being codependent, but me in general, being that I am someone who suffers from complex post-traumatic stress disorder and regular PTSD from when I was in the army, um, there tends to be like certain things that will trigger me into a spiral and make me think, oh shit, I'm gonna lose everything. I'm gonna lose my wife. I'm gonna lose my daughters that come with my wife. And sometimes I self-sabotage because I feel like I want it to be my decision if that happens. And I'm getting to the point where I'm moving away from that. I'm like realizing that I am loved, that I am worthy of that love as well. And that is something that I don't think I've ever felt until now. Like honestly, my whole life I just felt like the only reason people acted like they loved me was for what I gave them in return. At this moment, I feel like I am loved because of the person I am, you know, and it's a beautiful thing, when you find something like that, it's huge. So the next um, key sign of codependency that we have here is you may do anything to hold on to a relationship, even if it's something unsafe or destructive or compromising. Damn. That's a deep one because like I've done unsafe things for a job um that I really shouldn't have done. Like I mean I put my life at risk for a job many, many times, especially in the army. But in the army you kind of don't really have a choice. They're kind of like, here you go, here's a gun, go kill shit, whatever. It's so stupid. But that's what I chose to do it because I wanted to protect the US. And then after a while, I realized that this was not me, So when I got out, I really like changed a lot of my life. Oh, so you're one of uh, Tam's friends. That's awesome. That's lovely. Being open with a loved one is great. Yeah. She sounds so supportive. I'm glad for you, Tam, were either because of a loved one or because of a job. They were never choices like me doing them, myself. Oh no. Why did my thing end? Wait, am I still alive? What the fuck? I don't know why I went down. I still don't know why that went down on there. Am I still alive on life? Hold up. Let me see. Maybe it was something I said. Well, it says I'm still alive. Let me see. What the fuck? What